4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look, and it's ready to go out. Ben Gregory now, I love it. 16.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media and welcome to another 2 races in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour. We're here for rounds 6 and 7 of the championship, coming into the final stages now of this little winter off-season, which we're using as a bit of a test bed for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, the dates for which in the 4th season, or the 4th season of, has been released as of late, and we will be talking about those dates and, of course, more details in a short while. We're here at Sandown, International Motor something. It's got off the screen. I think it's Raceway. We're here in Australia, though. Obviously, there's part of the winter tour. We are down under in Australia, and we've also been in Asia as well. It's not just myself, though. Chaz Draycott in the commentary box. We've got the wonderful Ed May back with me once again. Ed, one of my most disjointed intros I've ever done, I think. It's one of those nights here at Sandown, though. It's going to be very different to what we've seen so far.
Yes, it is, and we've got a different tweak to the sprint race format as well for this evening, don't we, Chaz? I think we've got the first race, the sprint race, is the sort of 20 minutes that we've been used to, but then the feature, we've extended it a little bit, haven't we? We've extended it to 30 minutes, so we should be able to see how that changes the way the driver's racing. Also, we've done a couple of tweaks to the fuel limit as well for the cars. They were running a little bit low, weren't they, at the race last time out at Suzuka, so we've upped the tanks a little bit so that they should be able to go without having to worry about managing the race and fuel saving. They can just go all out from green to checkered.
Yeah, absolutely. There were a few drivers that mentioned that they were close on fuel at Suzuka when we had our first ever sprint race night there. So instead of having 2 30-minute sprint races, we have a 20-minute and a 30-minute race this time round. And instead of 15 cars on the grid being reversed, we have 10 being reversed this time round. Like I've said, this is a bit of a test bed for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, so it's all stuff that may be implemented in the full season, which you will soon get to see. This is how the championship looks coming here to Sandown for 2 more races. There's still 4 races to go, but a slightly smaller purse of points for these sprint races. You don't get 20 for a win, you get 15, and it's literally 1 point less per position. It's Niels Core in the BMW that leads the way on 72 points over Simon Povey, just 4 points between the two of them. Taylor Adams doing a great job in 3rd place, and then boy oh boy would you look how close it is between Dominic Brennan, James Holman, Arthur Thurtle and Andrew Hopley. A little bit of a gap back, but then look, Matthias Pentila, Mike Horder, Mike Murphy, all of them within 2 points. And then over in the Teams Championship, there's a little bit more of a spread. Altitude and RD Simsport are battling for 2nd place, but Spontex CDM Esports Unwrapped, they're looking quite comfortable at the top at the moment, aren't they, Ed?
Oops, sorry, my mic was muted. Here we go. I mean, it was as you said, Chaz. Yeah, the Spontex are doing very well at the moment in the Teams Championship, but we do know as well that Altitude have had their share of rotten luck so far this season. Miscalculating it a couple of times on the strategy certainly hasn't helped either. But in these sprints, I mean, we saw that they were looking very quick, barring a couple of incidents here and there. You've got to say, they could be ones to watch here when the strategy isn't necessarily as important. It's just all about having the pace, which they have in abundance.
They absolutely do, and somebody that's had an abundance of liveries this season is Pete Thickett in car 33 for Scuderia Chicken House. He's wearing the BASF livery, or inspired livery, from the BMW M1 Pro car tonight on his Aston Martin. But this is the glorious Scuderia Chicken House version of the livery with the chicken on it as well. This is one of the most pivotal corners here, though, at Sandown. You go through this absolutely terrifying rapid left-hander. There's been some big shunts there in the past in Aussie supercars. And then you've got to go through a right-left chicane to get it slowed down very, very quickly. And there's a lot of sections like that around this circuit, isn't there? There's a lot of big commitment parts of the circuit. That's 6, 7, 8 and 9 down there. And then the final corners here, turns 11, 12 and 13. It's really about making sure you've got a tidy run. And in these GT4 cars, sure, they've not got all the power in the world, but it's not the easiest, is it?
Yeah, and it's a very tricky circuit as well for the drivers, just because of how wide and then narrow it gets. I mean, here down the start-finish straight, it's ever so wide, but then as you get towards sort of the half of the lap, you can see the track starts to narrow just a little bit more, especially through this section. It's ever so tight and technical. The drivers really need to be able to get to grips with the car and put the practice in. I think there have been plenty of sessions put up before this race this evening, such as the team sort of community aspect of the Sim Racing Magazine community, as everyone sort of helps each other out, puts the sessions up beforehand to get the laps in, to really understand the circuits that they go to before the race days, which is also why we see such great racing, because the drivers have that knowledge and also have probably raced a little bit with each other and ironed out the mistakes before the real big show. Lovely little move there by Pete Thickett, taking advantage of a little bit of a mistake up ahead, but they're treating it like it's a race at the moment.
They absolutely are, yeah. These guys are going all out during practice. This is Dominic Brennan of Spontex CDM Esports Unwrapped, one of the 2 cardboard cars that you'll see out there tonight. Quite interesting that they're allowed to go over that pit entry line there, isn't it, on the way out of the final corner, because usually you'd get penalised for something like that in iRacing quite aggressively, as Nico Minardi finds the track limits. Good to have Nico back on our screens again. He returns to the circuit with his 2 stablemates, Mike Murphy for Minardi Simsport Green, and Ben Chalcraft is unfortunately not here this evening. He's the one that sort of swapped with Nico for this. Ben's had tickets to a concert this evening, I believe, so I hope he's enjoying himself. I.e., he better be worth it. But Mike is certainly flying in the championship at the moment, isn't he, Ed? He's had a really, really good campaign so far. He's, sure, not right at the sharp end, but he's just outside the top 10, and he's certainly proven to us just how good these guys that have come over from Circuit Superstars can be. We've seen a lot from them.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of good things from them. It's all about just adapting and getting used to the format and everything. We've seen, obviously, a lot of the Circuit Superstars drivers in the Formula 1 championships. That was sort of, I guess, their debut on iRacing and, of course, on our screens. And it was really intriguing just to see how they developed, and obviously a change of discipline from the open wheelers to these tin top GT4s. It's great to have that sort of visual side of it, on our side at least, from seeing how the drivers evolve. Was flipping heck, James Ullman. He's really pushing hard around here.
Yeah, he and Arthur Thurtle both really attacking the curbs there. We've got Jacob Money just behind in the Sapphire Simsport BMW M4 GT4. Beautiful looking race car. And then the little Porsche of Gary Tall as well. The 718 Cayman GT4 Club Sport. Spontex CDM Esports just inside the top 10 at the moment. Now, it's quite interesting that we've not got as big a grid here tonight by the look of it so far. Only 19 cars at this later stage of this 6-week season, which is a bit of a shame, to be honest, but at the end of the day, it's real life that comes first, and there's a bunch of people that have said they're not available for tonight as well, to be fair. It's not like they're all completely AWOL, but we would have had a 15 reverse grid usually in these sprint race nights, so we are getting about half of the grid reversed still. So I think relatively that's pretty decent, to be fair, and it's going to be exciting to see how that works out.
Yeah, it seems to be looking very close, especially up at the sort of higher end of the field. Simon Povey seems to be in the class of his own, but then back from him, you can really get a sense that this is going to be a fast and pretty dramatic, I think, evening's worth of racing. I want to see how the drivers adapt to that 20-minute sprint rather than the 30 minutes. See if we have the drivers maybe take a slightly more aggressive approach. With there being less time in the race to make those positions, they might need to get their elbows out a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Drivers like Niels Kort, the championship leader, may have to play it a bit safer here. He didn't have the best of rounds at Suzuka when they had the sprint races because his second result was affected heavily. He had a big incident with, I believe it was Adam Watson, that the two of them made contact coming towards Spoon Curve, and Nils was straight off the circuit. Fortunately, though, he is held onto the championship lead, but it's been spiced up by some drivers not having the best of nights at certain points. There go the two Altitude Esports Aston Martins. Now, there's an important element here in qualifying to mention, Ed. It's not the fact that they're going to be able to complete the laps that they're on when the clock hits 0.
Yes, that's it, Chaz. It's great to have that little added bit of jeopardy where the drivers can't afford to rest and relax. It's going to be a little bit more forgiving, I think, around here than it was at Suzuka, just because of the length of the lap more than anything else. Suzuka was so punishing for drivers that made those mistakes. It took, I think, was it nearly half the session before we saw Arthur Thurl put a time in or something like that? It took a very long time, didn't it, before we saw certain drivers get times. No, it wasn't. It was Simon Povey who left it right until the end to put his times on the board. So it was all about just putting those laps in and making sure they counted, because if you do run wide, break track limits, then all of a sudden you're going to be left with a long time to wait until you go around again. Here at Sandown, shorter lap times, it should be more forgiving, so we're not expecting to see too many upsets in that sort of vein, I suppose, but still, it's difficult to call how qualifying is going to go. Obviously, it's all about getting a clear track, and with it being as tight and congested as it is, traffic could play a part.
It absolutely could. There's a lot to think about tonight compared to other evenings. It's definitely a showcase of drivers' versatility, and that's why these sprint rounds will be appearing in the, let's call it the full Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge as well. The dates have been released and there will be 3 sprint rounds throughout the season. It's a 12-round season, or well, 12 meetings with 15 races in total, and it spans over 16 weeks at the start of 2024. And we're really excited to hopefully see you all there and see a number of the drivers that have competed here as well. These drivers that you see throughout the winter tour will get a slight priority over public entries as well for the 4th season because of their participation here. So I'm sure that some of them will be coming back. There's been some great feedback from a number of drivers regarding the format and the changes that we've made, and you know, some of these guys have been racing with us for the first time. Both of the Altitude Esports drivers, actually, their first sort of full season rather than just a special event with them. And they've really enjoyed it by the look of it and continue to do so. Adam Watson was talking to us about fuel levels and all sorts just yesterday in the Discord, and that's the thing, there's such a great community here. Everyone's giving feedback all the time and it's always taken on board, and we love to hear it. But what Adam's going to love to hear right now, I imagine, is that he's fastest out of everybody that's set a time. Let's have a look. He is not. It's Arthur Thurtle, his teammate, that goes just under a tenth of a second quicker than him. But still there right to the top. Dominic Brennan next up, then Tom Weston. James Holman's done well. He told me he's not going to do any practice for tonight, or he's barely going to do any. And he's certainly making it work so far. Just a tenth and a bit off the top spot. Niels Kort, championship leader, not having the best of laps to begin with, but it's a banker lap, isn't it? 3 tenths from the top spot is still not bad at all, because it's not a long lap round here. Even in GT4 cars, it's 1 minute 13 seconds. That is a mighty short lap.
Yeah, definitely. There's been something going on just up ahead of Niels Kort. There's a plume of smoke, and that's Nico Minardi having a little bit of an issue in that first sector. Just overcooks it, and then the curb. It's already got an unsettled car, and that's just giving it the momentum to pitch the car around. Seems to rejoin the circuit without impeding anyone else, though, which is good. And get back up underway. The Altitude Esports drivers helping one another out in formation. It's going to be intriguing to see if it's going to really help out, though, with the slipstream. Thurtle in behind Adam Watson. And it's Adam Watson who goes to the top of the timing sheets. Arthur Thurtle just in behind. Less than a tenth of a second separating first from second. And it's currently an all-altitude front row and all RD Sim Sport second row, with Matthias Bentilla up into third. Well, no, make that fourth as Niels Core goes up to the top of the timing sheets with a very nice lap indeed. Are we going to see drivers creep down into the 112s?
Certainly think so. We had 3 Spontex CDM Esports cars in a row as well. Gary Toll was leading them and he's parked it on the exit of the corner. Guys behind have to take some sort of avoiding action, and there you go. There is a time in the 12s. It's Simon Povey, 1:12.8. That is a rapid lap time indeed. 0.3 of a second clear. I just want to give a quick shout out as well, by the way, to our sponsors for the championship, Crockery Direct and Oris Digital, on behalf of this wonderful man, Heinz Mayer. Also, Drew Fletcher of Derbyshire Holiday Homes as well. Drew's actually off to go and enjoy the Formula 1 in Las Vegas. So I hope you enjoy yourself, Drew. Thank you very much for the support as always. And thank you to everybody that's a part of the championship. It's great to have such a wonderful community around it. But Simon Povey fastest from Niels Core. The two of them know that they need to take points off each other tonight because it's so close at the top of the table with just 4 points between them. Although Arthur Thurtle has now gone second fastest. James Holman hops up to 5th. This is a fast and frantic session by the feel of it. Ed, what do you reckon?
Yeah, very frantic indeed. Niels Core improves, but not on his position, only his time. He gives a bit more buffer to Adam Watson, chasing him down. He's currently stuck right beneath the rear bumper of, I think that's Toby Johns, isn't it? Just up ahead of him.
Yeah, Toby Johns.
Obviously a newcomer to iRacing. I think we saw his debut, wasn't it, on the Core Omor?
It was.
I believe it was.
In
yeah,
the Porsche.
He's been obviously getting to grips with the sim, with the cars as well. So he's knowing that he's not going to be right at the very sharp end, but we've seen so many drivers start here and only get better and better as the season goes on. I mean, I think Mark Johnson's a great example of that. I think Tom Weston, he's also been able to develop really well as a driver as well as the sort of seasons have gone on. So it's going to be interesting to see how Toby Johns gets on over the course of this season and maybe the next if he decides to join us for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always lovely to see driver development as well, and one of the best things about it is that you don't have to go really far out of your way to go and hear from them either. Everybody loves discussing their races and what's gone on in the Discord server. Pentala is currently 7th fastest. Andre Mayerek has just overtaken Don Brennan. Nico Minardi's going well. He's 6th fastest at the moment in car number 13. He's only 9 thousandths of a second off James Holman. Nico will be really pleased with that lap time, and I'm sure hoping to keep that up for some big championship points here in these sprint races. Let's not forget that every position on circuit is only 1 point different, basically, from the car ahead. Simon Povey's just improved on his lap time further and done a 1:12.697. He's nearly 2/10 clear of Arthur Thurtle at the moment. Pete Thickett goes up to 12th as we look at Mark Johnson. He's within a second of the fastest time, and that's one of the best bits about such a short circuit like this, isn't it, Ed? The fact that the times get so close together, there's less variation.
Yeah, that time by Simon is very good, but I wonder if that McLaren is going to be able to keep it up for the course of the race. We know over one lap that car can just switch the tyres on in an instant and give you those lap times right when you need them, but it doesn't like curbs at all, the McLaren. We saw it struggle a lot at Bathurst for that sort of same reason. Just couldn't really push the car to its limits. Around here in qualifying, Simon's really getting a lot of performance out of it, but I worry in the race he won't be able to take those lines consistently for fear of having a moment himself. So we'll watch how it goes in the race, but for now he's looking very comfortable in qualifying.
Yeah, there's a number of drivers that are sort of coming out of their shell here. Pentala's been a little bit under the radar at times. Oh, dearie me, it's like Forest Elbow that when they go around that last corner. But Pentala's been great here. Simon Povey improves even further somehow. 1:12.652 for the Spontex CDM Esports and Wrap driver. Certainly wanting to make a point tonight, isn't he? Ralph Mayer's just improved in the background as well. He's now 15th fastest, but still only 1.1 seconds off the fastest time set by anybody. Once again showing how close this field is. It's not even 1.5 seconds between all 19 cars at this moment in time. But one of the best bits is that, I mean, you look at Gary Tall and Pete Thickett, you know, they're both absolutely rapid drivers. Mike Murphy's been up there as well this season. There's so many drivers within the sort of top 10, 15 that we always see that could all go on and win a race if things fall in the right order over a sprint race night for them, you know. It's so competitive this season, isn't it?
It is just about being able to keep yourself nice and sensibly out of trouble in the first race. Get yourself up into that top 10 and hope for a bit of carnage in behind you, and you could easily go on for a great result. as we see Andrej Myrek up into 9th place. Not seen Andrej Myrek for the last few rounds, so good to have him back out on circuit with us. As Simon Povey has come into the pits potentially for a late tyre change and for some fresh rubber in the closing stages. James Holman as well in the pits. I'm not sure if that's for the same reason or if there's something else. At the moment though, Arthur Thurtle is up into 2nd place. Nils Kaur doing what he needs to do for his championship. A good qualifying result doesn't necessarily need to put it on pole, but still be up in the conversation will be enough to see him in good stead for the last few moments of this season, sort of winter tour. And Bendela, like you say, really flying under the radar, but I think we've seen moments where he has had those flashes of brilliance, and I just think he needs to capture those and try and draw them out over the course of the season, because we know he can do it. It's just about the consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. I said he's been very under the radar at points. I'm not sure whether it's the camouflage-esque pattern on the car or whether the fact it's just matte black and hides in the shadows. But yeah, there's been always a very strong pedigree of driver from RD Simsport that come and take part in our leagues here at Sim Racing Magazine, and Pentela has certainly fit the bill for that as well, making the Mercedes seem very strong. His teammate Guy Edwards, who unfortunately we don't have with us here this evening, was a very, very solid driver in this very Mercedes actually, just during last season. The same colour scheme as well. As, I think he clipped the wall there, did Pentela, just a little bit too far out on the right hand side. Got Nils Kaur behind him. Adam Watson's 5th at the moment. He's not far off by any stretch of the imagination, but I know that Adam will be pushing like mad, his usual style. Adam does like to really wring the neck of this Aston Martin. He's always great value for money when you want an entertaining driver to keep an eye on. He had that nightmare scenario at Bathurst as well that he's going to want to make up for, where the car ran out of fuel 1 pit box short of where he needed to stop, and he wasn't able to get the car there and lost a bunch of positions from it. I think he still got a top 10 in the end, didn't he, at our Bathurst round, but obviously that's not what he was on to score before the problems arose.
No, definitely not. I think one thing we'll say about Bentala is that he was also very impressive at the last sprint round at Suzuka. I think he was able to race up at the front for extended periods, and I think just got quite unlucky in the second race. But for my money, he's going to be certainly someone to watch. I think, did he get 2nd place in the first sprint race at Suzuka?
Yes, yeah, he did. Adam did get a race victory.
I think Nils Kaur was trying to chase him down at the last stage, but he held off very well. So we'll see if he can maybe repeat that same sort of form here tonight. Qualifying is close to ending. You can see that the time is ticking down. Only 2.5 minutes remaining, and the drivers don't get any more time than that to complete their laps. So we go on board with Dominic Brennan, currently in 10th place. Needing to do a little bit better if he wants to be up there with his Swantex CDM Esports Unwrapped teammate. At the moment, Altitude Esports could be closing that margin down unless Dominic can pull something out in these last few moments.
There was a fantastic screenshot shared by the car in front, actually. Simon Povey, he and Dominic are great friends. They go back a long way. And Simon sent everybody a screenshot from WhatsApp where he'd mentioned to Dom that he'd put up a hosted session for Sandown, just in case he wanted to practice. And Dom's response was, "I've never heard of it." So some of Dom's very first laps that he's ever done with Sandown are here tonight. He's currently inside the top 10, and maybe following Simon for a bit of tutoring on the fly. But yes, there's certainly a great battle within the team's championship between Spontex CDM Esports Unwrapped, Altitude Esports, and RD Simsport as well. All with very talented drivers behind the wheel of their virtual machines. James Holman certainly one of them as well. Legends racer at heart. He says he, despite his Legends background, loves endurance racing, so he's got a bit of everything under the hood, quite literally, as James Holman. He's a lovely bloke as well. Always gives a good interview. He's currently in 6th position at the moment. I know that he'll want to improve on that. We're not going to get any more laps after this now, so Mike Murphy is going to cross the line, but he will not have time to complete another one. He, Tom Weston and Gary Toll will be finishing their final laps of the session. Gary Toll moving over to the left hand side. Is Tom Weston going to improve with that green first sector? He is not. He stays where he is in the AI Race Summaries Kendo car. Arthur Thurtle crossing the line as well. No improvement for him or Adam Watson or Andrej Myrek. Simon Povey and Dominic Brennan also crossing the line. No improvements by Simon, but Dominic moves up to 9th place. What about Jacob Money? Nothing from him. We've then got Nico Minardi next up. He's just going around the final corner. Nearly hits the wall. He was that far over to the left. No improvement there either. I think that's pretty much the entire top 10 that's already been through, actually, to be honest, Ed, isn't it? Who haven't we had through there? Holman, actually.
Holman, yes, who I think we'll be seeing soon enough. He will be, I think, one of the final few drivers to set a lap time, but the track doesn't seem to be coming to the drivers at all. If anything, it seems to be falling away. We haven't seen improvements for quite some time. James Holman goes over the line, but no improvement. And like you say, James is a Legends racer at heart, loves the endurance racing, and it's been interesting to see, isn't it, from RD Simsport. They always seem to have a breakout driver in every season. I mean, in season 2, it was Callum Brandt. Last season, it was James Holman. And maybe in this season, or even season 4, we might see Pentila come through and sort of be the driver that breaks the mould a little bit.
Absolutely. And as we just saw for a moment there, it was 52 degrees Celsius track temperature. It went up from 49 degrees to 52 in just that qualifying session. Here is your grid then. Simon Povey on pole position alongside Arthur Thurtle. Niels Kaur and Matthias Pentila in 4th place. That's 4 different teams in the front 2 rows. Adam Watson next up with James Holman alongside him. Nico Minardi in 7th alongside Andre Mayorak. Then we have Dominic Brennan alongside Jacob Money, who rounds out the top 10. He's followed by Gary Toll and Pete Thickett on the 6th row of the grid. Then it's Mike Murphy and Mark Johnson with Tom Weston and Ralph Mayer on the 8th row. Heinz Mayer is 17th with Toby Johns 18th, and Kim Such rounds out the field in 19th position. So the field starts on the back straight here and takes just the final couple of corners to get up to their rolling start here, Ed. I reckon that Simon is probably the one that everybody's looking to beat here, because they know that Simon's pace outright is what wins him races, isn't it?
Yes, it is. When he's out in front, it's very difficult to try and match pace with him and then overtake him as well. I can say that from experience. I remember it was at, I believe, how have I completely forgotten the name? Sebring. I think it was in season 1 where I had some pace. It was just trying to keep up with him. And he was consistently putting in time after time, whereas one lap I'd catch, one lap I'd drop back, I wouldn't have such a good final sector. He was just constantly just putting in those same times again and again and again. And that was, I think, the difference maker. So we're going to have to see if maybe Arthur Thurtle or even Niels Kaur can try and throw him off his game, because when he's on it, he's so difficult to beat.
One of the other interesting facts here is we've got 4 different cars in the top 4. We've got a McLaren, an Aston Martin, a BMW and a Mercedes. If that doesn't say something about the balance of performance here in iRacing's GT4 category, I don't know what does. It is one of the best balance of performances the service has ever seen, and it's great to have it. It's a shame about the Porsches, though. They don't seem to be on strong form at the moment. Gary Toll is the highest placed Porsche, down in 11th position, and then the rest of them are 14th, 17th, 18th and 19th, I'm afraid. But Niels Kaur has 4 points to Simon Povey in the championship, and it's 1 point per position. You don't get any special points for winning the race, so Niels is basically just going to be counting the positions between himself and Simon. The championship cannot really be wrapped up tonight unless there's a massive drama for everybody except Niels. So the BMW driver for Satellite Racing, well, he's going to have to really go for it here, Ed, but I think he's going to take a reserved approach. What do you reckon?
He might do. He might try and be nice and chill. You can see the drivers trying to warm up their tyres, and then you've got Niels Kaur and Matthias Pentila just sort of chilling there, letting them do their business because they know the track temperatures are hot enough. They don't need to do this, but the race is hot enough as Simon Povey gets us underway.
We absolutely do get underway. Round 6 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour from Sandown is go, and it is the 3rd sprint race of the season, and it's side by side down the start finish straight for the first time. Simon Povey leads them into turn 1. Adam Watson is side by side with Matthias Pentila for 4th position. He gains that place. Jacob Money's gained 3 spots from the start already. How on earth has he done that? Must have got a demon run out of that first chicane. Nico Minardi and Andre Mayorak are side by side, and there Mayorak's around. Mayorak looked down the inside, tried to go over the curb, and it was just a recipe for disaster, I'm afraid. Dominic Brennan's lost a place. Pete Thickett's gained 3 places as well. But at the front, it's Povey, and then look at this battle behind. Niels Kaur right in the thick of it.
Niels Kaur right in the thick of it, yes, as Adam Watson's trying to make headway. He's already gained 1 place. There's going to be 2 now as he's going side by side with Niels Kaur, and I think Niels is just going to back out of this one. Yes, very smartly done. You don't want to go too wide through here because it's just a recipe for carnage and disaster. So he drops back into 4th place, does Niels Kaur. Adam Watson, what a first lap he's had, up 2 places, and now in behind his teammate chasing down Simon Povey in the lead of the race. I think we saw a moment as well at some point for Nico Minardi. He's lost a couple of places. But Pete Thickett, what a start. He's had up 4.
Yeah, Pete Thickett's having a flyer of a first lap. You can just see him in the background there. He's actually just ahead of Nico Minardi. I think he was involved in that. Oh, Kim Such and Toby Johns are both off the road. Something has gone on here. Into the final chicane. Is one of them just going to lose it? Oh, Kim's just gone in very hot in the second part of the chicane and just drilled the back of the McLaren, unfortunately. They both try and recover, and then, after you, sir, after you. But Povey leads the way, but those two altitude cars are right back together again.
They are. It's very difficult to separate the two of them, so equal on pace, both Arthur and Adam. Difficult to know who's going to be the number 1 driver out of the two of these, or if it's just going to be no holds barred and just going all for it, because there's some races where Arthur looks like the driver from pace, then all of a sudden it's Adam. It's going to be intriguing how they approach this, because at the moment Adam looks like, well, he didn't have the pace in qualifying in the race. He's certainly on a charge, but they can't afford to worry too much about inverting the positions. Their main focus has to be on chasing down Simon in the lead of the race.
Yeah, Povey doing what Povey does at the moment, I guess. Leading the way very, very well in the Spontex CDM Esports Unwrapped car. He's got 1 race win already so far this season. He's had 2 second places, a 3rd and a 1st, and a 15th. That 1 15th place, and to be fair, Nils Kaur's poor result at Suzuka is what sort of kept them at bay with the rest of the field. As Thurtle has let Watson go. He said, right, you're the torpedo, as they say. You go, mate. And they do call him that lovingly at Altitude Esports, and Adam is now going to be on the send, while Thurtle aims as a sort of rear gunner at Nils Kaur, because with Nils finishing in 4th place here, he'll lose 3 points to Simon, because he's 3 positions behind him. That would mean that Nils leads the championship by just 1 point after this first race of the night. But let's not do the maths too early, shall we?
No, let's not worry about that just yet. Obviously, then Nils will have 3 positions ahead of Simon Povey, so that gap will be neutralised. But then Simon could try and make his way back up through the field in the second race. But it's still too early to call championship gaps just yet. Instead, we'll focus on some of the battles further down, and potentially the battle for that all-important 10th place, with Nico Minardi hanging on to it in sort of a little bubble, isn't he, with Gary Tall around about 2nd back and Dominic Brennan nearly 2 seconds in front.
Yeah, he's certainly looking quite comfortable at the moment, is Nico. Now he's got into a bit of a rhythm. I think he was in the thick of the battles in the opening lap, and he sort of had to back out of it a few times, and that's where he lost a bit of momentum in some of the fast chicanes, because Andre Mayerek was one of the guys that sent it up the inside of Nico early on as well. He's had a few incidents so far this season as Nico, so it's understandable if he's not the happiest with how it's been going, because he's always sort of been in the wrong place at the wrong time while just going about his own race. Arthur Thurtle's having a bit of a blink in and out here and there. It's nothing too bad though. We've seen definitely a lot worse in the past. Nils Kaur might be slightly distracted by that in his current position. He's got the 2 RD Sim Sport cars behind him of Matthias Pentela and James Holman. Then it's Money and Thickett. They had a great first lap each, but then haven't gained any spots since then. And Dominic Brennan is in 9th place. And that's the sort of first train of cars, isn't it? As Jacob Money has now gone off the road and split it up and made it the first 8 cars.
Yeah, little mistake there from Jacob Money, and with the car so close behind, he's lost a good few places just in that one moment. Shows how in the race you have to be on it, and you cannot afford any sort of mistake or misstep, because you'll just lose out massively. And on a tight, twisty technical circuit with little room to pass, that could be decisive for where he finishes this race, because at the moment you can see Dominic Brennan trying to get through on Pete Thickett. Even with that little mistake by Pete, still tricky to find a way past.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's not really many easy overtaking opportunities at this circuit, because even after this massive straight, it's not like it goes into a heavy braking zone. You know, you've got turn 6, which is massive commitment. And then, even then, when you try and slam on the brakes and get down the inside of somebody into the chicane, the back end of a car like the McLaren will just try and overtake itself. So you're not going to have an easy time down here by any means. Look at how fast they're coming down here into this left-hander. 230 kilometers an hour, little lift, bit of a dab on the brakes maybe just to stabilize the car slightly, and down through the gears. It's like the chicane's not even there. Such a thrilling little circuit, Sandown, though. I love this place.
Here we go. Dominic Brennan's going to try and find a way past if he can, looking to the outside, then looking to the inside, but it was wonderfully covered off by Pete Thickett, who's in the thick of it now. And this should be the move by Dominic Brennan with a lovely exit out of the final corner. Look at the run he has in behind the Aston Martin. Which way will Pete send him? He's going to try and force Dominic to go to the outside, but look how wide the circuit is. There's always going to be a gap there on the inside for Dominic to take advantage of, and now under the brakes in towards the first corner. Oh, a little bit of argy-bargy. Is Pete going to be able to hang on to it? You know what? He might have just done enough.
Dom was being very polite there down the inside and really came to a stop. Thickett, I don't think, left all the room in the world down the inside, but the two of them both carry on. Behind them, Jacob Money's just had a Nico Minardi, then Gary Toll, Mike Murphy, and then Tom Weston. So there's certainly people queuing up behind. There's no in the background. Ralph and Hines have come together. Mark Johnson's involved in it in the Aston Martin. And Andre Mayerek says, thanks very much, guys. Not quite sure what you were doing there, but I'll go through. It's all a bit argy-bargy there. I think it was just a simple mistake by Hines. I think he just lost the rear end on the brakes. Oh, it was unsettled by the curb.
Out under the curb.
Yeah. Oof. Have that. Have a bit of that, son. Race leader, though, Ed.
Front.
Well, look
Nearly
at
a second.
Yeah.
Over a second.
Simon's doing a fantastic job at this moment in time. He's managed to gap Adam Watson that little bit. A bit of a moment in the background by Pentler as he had a slowdown penalty. You can definitely get them in that final chicane. James Holman goes through. I'm not sure whether that was team orders for the championship or whether Pentler got a slowdown penalty there, because I don't see the need for him to let him through really at this point.
Yeah, that could have been a slowdown, and it could have actually been a slowdown potentially was what we saw Watson take Thurtle as again round two. Dominic Brennan looking for a way past Pete Thickett. Pete's going to be down on the inside and retaining that 7th place, but Dominic's asking plenty of questions. There's just a flat out answer in Pete the minute is NO.
Yeah, NO for BASF, I tell you what. And well, to be fair, it's SFA, isn't it, at the moment for Dominic Brennan? That's what he's getting out of this one. And it's certainly not been easy for him. There's been a bit of a moment for Adam Watson here. He's lost a bunch of time to his teammate Arthur Thurtle behind him, so not quite sure what's gone on there, but his charge towards Simon Povey has come to a very abrupt end. He's 1.8 seconds off him now. But look at the conditions. It's 51 degrees on the track temperature right now. It's only 23 degrees air temperature, but obviously it's Australian summer at this time of year, and we are using the real event date as well. We are using the 14th of November, so it is mighty boiling down there in Australia right now, and that's been reflected brilliantly by the sim.
Yes, it is. I'm not sure if the drivers are going to be too appreciative of it, though, with the track conditions. That was one of my most least favourite things about racing in some of the rounds of this championship. I think it was the first round of the first season where we rocked up to, I think it was
Road
Atlanta. Blistering track temps. I was in the McLaren and it just couldn't cope. It was absolutely nightmarish. All the Porsches that were really nice on the tyres, really nice on the fuel, just cleared off into the sunset. I was keeping up with them for the first 5 laps, then all of a sudden tyres got churned through, and that's something that I think the drivers will have to watch out for, is to not churn through the rubber. In the endurance races, you do have an opportunity to change the front or the side tyres. You can change 2 in the first sort of full fuel pit stop. That's what some drivers opt to do, is to sort of change the tyres at that point and then nurse them for the rest of the race. I'm not sure if they'll be able to do much of nursing, though, because with the action out on circuit, they're going to have to use every last drop of rubber they can get.
It will be drops of rubber by the time this race is done, I can tell you that. It'll have completely melted in 51 degree heat around here. Great train of cars here. Tom Weston's at the back of this one with a beautiful view in front of him. He's got Mike Murphy's Minardi Simsport green car. It's currently Nico Minardi just there in the middle of this, that's on for reverse grid pole position as well. All of these guys do get points down to 15th place, so Andre Mayerek in the background is still within a point scoring position as Tom Weston sends it up the inside of Mike Murphy, bounces off the curb. Mike has a better run around a wider line, and the two of them sort of drop a bit of time to the group ahead. That's something you need to be really careful of around there. And that's not just a rude word up the side of Tom Weston's car. That is the... What's it? No, it's not an anagram. It's the...
AI race summaries, I believe, I think.
Yes, it is. I can't think of the thing for it. Is it an anagram? No, it's not. It's a...
Acronym.
Acronym. That's the flipping word. Jeez, I can never remember it. Nils Core's going to be watching these two disco balls dance around in front of him and wonder what's going on here, because Arthur Thurtle's now back in front of Adam Watson. It's like Arthur said, right, Adam, you're clearly pushing, you are flying, you go in front. And then Adam's overdone it somewhat, unfortunately, and now he's sort of said, right, I'll go back in front, let's see what we can do. But Nils Core, he doesn't give a damn about this, he just wants championship points, and even if it's just that extra 1 you and I both know, Ed, and so do these guys, that one championship point can make all the difference.
Yeah, Nils is going to get really sick of this musical chairs business up in front of them, all sort of passing it around to one another, and just they need to sort themselves out, because at the moment Nils is maybe not just going to be able to overtake one of them, but maybe overtake the second as well. James Holman has closed up to this fight though as well, just because everyone's sort of playing about with themselves, not really sort of committing one way or the other, and indecision is just slowing them all down a bit.
It looked like Arthur had a bit of a nightmare through the first couple of corners as well. He really held all of them up. The whole 4 cars are separated by less than a second right now. Arthur Thurtle, Adam Watson, Niels Corr and James Holman. James is definitely going to be there to take advantage if he can. The Aston isn't the most nimble of all of these cars, but we know that James can certainly make it work. He did a great job at Okayama and won the race there on the endurance strategy. But of course, this is just out-and-out sprint racing now. We've got 8 minutes of this race left to go. Povey has a 3.6 second lead over Arthur Thurtle, so he's looking comfortable. But look, there's a lot of understeer coming from those Aston Martins at the front of this, and now they're side by side once again. This is just slipstream heaven for these guys behind. Sure, it's not about fuel saving, but it's just keeping them in the fight.
Yeah, it is, but now all of a sudden Niels Corr is going to wonder how he can take advantage of this. Adam Watson ahead of Arthur Thurtle, they're all just swapping and changing, and that indecision is maybe going to give a window for the BMW in behind. It seems to be safe for now, but it just takes one little lapse in judgment for either of these two Astons to suddenly see their positions slip down the order.
And even if you look further back
Simon
from this,
Povey is, I think, the only driver benefit from all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are all losing out. I mean, Matthias Penteler is getting closer and closer. He's now 0.9 of a second off James Holman. He'll get a tiny, tiny slither of slipstream from this far back as well, but not enough to really drag him up to the back of the guys ahead. I think with actually James Holman having slipstream from the cars ahead of him, he'll get sort of drawn away from his teammates. He sends it up the inside of Niels Corr, goes side by side. He thinks, right, Niels, you're not being aggressive enough here. You need to do a bit of this, mate, and have a go at these two Astons. He can see the opportunity. But look at that now. Suddenly half a second between Penteler, who he ride on board with, and the two cars in front of him. Now it's 0.4 of a second. This is just getting closer and closer with 6 minutes to go. This is why we love sprint racing.
Yeah, Niels is probably going to get a bit frustrated with this, because this is not what they need. They don't need to be battling away, because otherwise the Altitude Esports are going to get that breathing space. They were really under pressure by Niels. Sure, he wasn't diving to make moves up the inside, but he was putting them in situations that they didn't want to be in. But now all of a sudden Niels Corr is going to find himself losing out as a result of James Holman's moves up the inside. Careful, I thought we were going to see that Aston Martin get tagged around. Credit to Niels Corr for backing out when he did, but now he's the filling of an RD SimSpot sandwich. Both cars in front and behind could work together to put Niels even further back and dent his championship hopes.
Yeah, that's the thing now. He is 4 points back, so that would put him on tied points with Simon Povey in the championship as of right now. Simon's just disappearing off into the distance. The even more painful thing about these chicanes is you can see drivers leaving them that you're chasing down. So, Penteler now, who we ride on board with again, in 6th place, still loving life. Dominic Brennan, by the way, has this massive train of cars still behind him. He's finally ahead of Pete Thickett. He's then got Jacob Money, Nico Minardi, who still holds on to 10th place in reverse grid pole. Then Gary Tull, Mike Murphy and Tom Weston. Great rain of cars. It's just a massive four-wheeled snake at the moment. All different manufacturers involved in this as well. McLaren, Aston Martin, BMW, McLaren, Porsche. And then Andre Meirach, unfortunately, 7 seconds off the back of them. These guys will breathe a sigh of relief right now, though, thanks to James Holman, won't they? The Altitude Esports duo will be over the moon with what's just gone on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, I think I need to apologise for Simon Povey and apologise to McLaren's as well. I was not expecting this pace to be kept up consistently. We saw it in qualifying, he's able to put those laps on the board, but I just thought McLaren, it's going to struggle a little bit too much to put it consistently. Is hang about. What's been going on here? Jacob Money fancies a little of the Aston Martin, a Pete Thickett, and a little bit of a slide on the exit is going to cause him to lose out. And Nico Minardi's barging his way through, trying to find a way past, but he's boxed in. There's nothing he can do.
Jacob didn't leave enough room on the right there. I don't even think he knew that Nico was there. He's still coming over to the right-hand side slightly. He doesn't need to squeeze like that to put him to the edge of the circuit. I know he needs to open up the corner as Tom Weston goes for a spin in the background. But there was certainly... oh no, Nico's gone straight on now. Maybe in a bit of frustration at the earlier contact. But there was definitely some argy-bargy going on between Jacob Money and Pete Thickett here. Let's have a look. This is Jacob in the BMW. Oh, he goes for a big late send down the inside of Pete Thickett. He overdoes it. Pete comes back at him. Pete's lost the rear end a little bit. Jacob comes flying back on. Two of them go to the apex of the right-hander. They make it through there. Oh, there's a bit of a touch. Oh, that's why it looked like he was completely sideways, because he was. And then all of a sudden, he just tries to get on it a little bit early there. It's a little bit careless, hitting the back of the Aston. But then look, I don't think he knows Nico's there, because the two of them don't have enough room to get through this corner. Then there's more contact on the exit. A little bit scrappy that. I'm not too much of a fan of that.
No, I mean, it's a lot of it is just down to, I think, the drivers having a lot of time sort of spent in that train, and then all of a sudden, as soon as one thing happens to sort of cause a little bit of a shift, all the drivers, they just sense a little bit of blood in the water and they just go for it, just try to take everything they can. Oh dear. Tom Weston, I think, was getting back up to racing speed, but on the racing line, all of a sudden, I think that was that Ralph Meyer, I think, that he got collected by.
I think so. So this is Tom having his original spin. Car's backwards off the circuit, and he gets going. I think he waits to see that there's no traffic. Andre Mayret goes through, gets up to speed, but he's straight back onto the apex. And I don't think that he expected to be sort of closed up on that quickly in his defence, but at the same time,
the speed of cars through that sort of chicane, it does throw drivers for a little bit of a loop. As thing about Nils Cora has gotten ahead of James Holman, and this is how he did it. A little bit of a mistake on the exit by James Holman, and all of a sudden Nils, he takes full advantage of that. Close to catastrophe there for Nils. They race very close around here. I do worry a little bit about what may happen with the reverse grid when the drivers are all the more eager to make up places.
I think we'll be alright. It's only 10. I think we'll be alright. But still, that was, there was great trust in Nils there. You could see he loves racing against James and these guys at the front of the pack, and you could see that because he was so close to cutting across the nose of him, but he knew that James wouldn't let that happen. You know, James would not let an incident, a silly incident into a chicane like that happen. And, you know, the two of them are racing firm but fair here, it has to be said, as James has got on the throttle very early out the final corner. I think he might have got to slow down in the early stages of that. It's 2 laps to go now, and Povey, well, he's gone. He's 5.4 seconds clear. He'll be enjoying this, won't he, Ed? Because the last few seasons he's had a real difficult time of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, and you know the pace of some of the guys around him and the strategies they've made work. It's always sort of dethroned him at the last moment, but Simon will be loving this, won't he? Because it's not been given to him by reverse grid like it was at Suzuka either.
No, it hasn't been, and it's great to see him back on good form. He's sort of been a constant presence, hasn't he, since the beginning of the Sim Racing Magazine sort of events and the championships that we've run. He's always been that presence up at the sharp end and been the benchmark for the drivers to try and beat. So many have tried, and some have succeeded, others not so much. Myself, I'll include in that second category. But still, wonderful stuff by Simon, finally seeing some of his form return back to him.
Absolutely. We've got the 2 Altitude Esports Aston Martin second and third on for a double podium at the moment, with Nils Cora next up, then this man James Holman, and then this man Matthias Pentila. Dominic Brennan is now in a bit of a race of his own as well. 7 seconds to the car ahead, 3 seconds to the car behind. Then it's Pete Thickett, Jacob Money. Gary Toll is now up into 10th place ahead of the 2 Minardi McLarens, which is a weird thing to say if you're ever a Formula 1 fan in the 90s. But Jacob Money and Gary Toll will be starting on the front row of the grid if it finishes just like this. These two teammates may be working together to try and catch up, but Povey has only about half a lap left to go here, Ed, and it has been a solid drive. What do you reckon he can do with the reverse grid, though?
It's going to be tricky. Obviously, with the 10 reverse, he still has a few ways to get through and potentially to win the race. I mean, his pace is certainly enough to win the race, but it's just about being able to pick those moments to make the overtakes, make them cleanly. As we see Adam Watson and Arthur Thurtle inverting positions. No fight being made there. Nils Cora is just going to have to sit and watch, unfortunately, as we enter the last few corners. But Simon Povey, he's been peerless in qualifying and in this first race. 6.1
seconds is the gap at the moment, and he opens that up by even more tenths out the final corner. Your winner of round 6 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour here at Sandown is Simon Povey for Spontex CDM Esports on Wrapped. He'll be over the moon with that one. great to see Simon return to form. Arthur Thurtle takes a great second place ahead of his teammate Adam Watson, then Niels Kaur. Matthias Penteler ahead of James Holman at the line. That was important for those guys because there's championship points swapping around there for RD Simsport. Jacob Money is 9th and Gary Toll is just going to finish ahead of the two Minardi McLarens, is he, for 10th place. That's going to give him some good championship points and reverse grid pole position. Mike Murphy next up, Nico Minardi. Andre Mayeret recovers to get some points. Ralph Mayer is going to be 14th, just ahead of Mark Johnson, who's going to cross the line in the final point scoring position. But I tell you what, Ed, we had some epic entertainment there at the front of the pack by those guys involved in those fights, didn't we? That was awesome.
What a first race we've been treated to, and with the prospect of Simon Povey with his pace starting from 10th, questions will have to think, can he be the driver to make it race wins in both the first and second race of the evening? If he's, well, any other track you would probably say yes, but I'm not sure around here at Sandown. He's going to certainly need to be on the very top of his A game.
He absolutely will be. So it's Simon Povey that takes the win by just under 6.3 seconds. Arthur Thurtle and Adam Watson. Great entertainment yet again from the Altitude boys. They get a double podium for the team and some great championship points. Niels Kaur finishes 4th, ahead of Matthias Penteler and James Holman, the RD Simsport duo. Then we have Dominic Brennan for Spontex CDM Esports Unwrapped. So other than Niels Kaur, it was the top 3 teams in the championship in the top 7 positions. Pete Thickett finished 8th. With the BASF-inspired livery. Jacob Money finished 9th after a very lively race, and Gary Toll completes the top 10 in the Porsche, and will of course be on pole position for race number 2 of the night. Next up was Mike Murphy in 11th place, with Nico Minardi finishing in 12th. A real shame that for Nico, because he had a great qualifying, just fell away slightly in the race and had a few moments here and there. Andre Mayeret recovered after his early spin to 13th, with Ralph Mayer in 14th ahead of Mark Johnson. Then it was Heinz Mayer, Kim Such and Toby Johns, with Tom Weston classified 1 lap down after his moment down at the chicane. So Ed, great entertainment once again. Reverse grid still to think about now for the drivers. This could go any which way this second race, couldn't it?
It really could, and the drivers, none of them actually, I was going to think, maybe taking time to get acclimatised to the hot track temperatures for the practice, but maybe they just need a bit of a rest after the dramatic action we saw on track in that first race. And to be honest, I don't blame them. I feel like I need a rest as well.
Absolutely was. So we'll have to wait and see now what the drivers do. We're going to flick the cameras to auto for a few minutes. Ed and I are just going to go and get a drink, have a quick break, and we will be right back with you here on Chaz Draycott Media for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour at Sandown. See you in a few. Hello again, everybody. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May here for the Sim Racing Magazine Events GT4 Winter Tour. Hope you're all having a fantastic evening wherever you may be in the world. We've had a great start to it so far. Really intriguing race there, Ed, for round 6 of this mini championship. A lot of difficult decisions to be made for drivers and a lot of quick thinking had to be done in that race, didn't it? This is not an easy place to go racing.
No, it certainly isn't. We can see that with the reverse grid, Simon Povey, after the amazing performance he put in that first race, is going to have to do all of it again and then some, starting from 10th right in the midfield. Can he survive and can he go back up to the front like he did in that first race? Because it was absolutely blistering pace that we saw from him.
It was absolutely amazing. It looked like he was going to be kept really honest by the Altitude Esports boys in the opening stages, but Simon's consistency shone through and the guys just couldn't quite stay with him. This man is going to be on pole position for race 2. We have 10 cars reversed on tonight's grid instead of 15. Gary Toll will now be on pole position. He's going to be alongside, I believe, was it Jacob Money that we figured out he was going to be alongside on the front row in the BMW? I think it was. But Jacob also had his own very eventful race in that one. It was certainly a lively one. There's been comments in the Discord that it's difficult to overtake around here, and it certainly seems so because there's not many major places to get past without compromising yourself, is there?
Yeah, it's a lot of the time, from what I've been seeing, at least in the Discord that we share with the drivers, it seems that for a lot of the drivers, it's difficult to make the pass if the driver in front hasn't made a mistake. You've got to sort of, I guess, be there in the positions to capitalise on those errors, because this is a circuit that you need to be perfect at. One little mistake, misstep, or any error, and you're going to have a huge gang of cars right there with you, just dying to get past.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult scenario to be involved in. So there's going to be a lot more quick thinking to come here from round 7 of the championship. Let's not forget we've got one more race meeting after this, and it comes in, well, 2 weeks' time actually. We've got a week off as of next week, and then we have Phillip Island for the finale with 2 races there, rounds 8 and 9. I think that's going to be an epic venue for this because GT4 cars are not going to find it easy around there. I think we're really going to see the best of some of our drivers at that circuit. What do you reckon?
I think we are. I think it's going to be really intriguing to see how the drivers negotiate, but we are, I think, coming towards the end, aren't we, of practice? Yes, we are, Chaz, and at the moment, Simon Povey still with the fastest time in the practice session. Basically just saying, I'm going to be coming for that first place yet again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be a very, very exciting race. And now it goes quiet for just a moment. As the session ticks over, the sun's got a little bit lower, the light has got a little bit more golden, and this is your grid. Gary Tall on pole position then, alongside Jacob Money. Pete Thickett and Dominic Brennan on row 2, with James Holman and Matthias Penteler on row 3. Then it's Niels Kaur, championship leader by just 1 point now over Adam Watson, with Arthur Thurtle and Simon Povey on row 5. Then it's Mike Murphy in 11th, with Nico Minardi in 12th. Following them is Andre Mayerak and Ralph Mayer, with Mark Johnson and Heinz Mayer. Kim Such 17th, Toby Johns 18th, and Tom Weston in 19th position. There were apologies before for the contact actually from Heinz Mayer. He said that he was trying to avoid Tom, but he didn't really know which way to go, because at the end of the day, you're going into a chicane like that, it's always going to be a heavy hit, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's tricky as well with the closing speed. You see a car far enough back, you think, right, I can get up to pace, but you don't expect them to be carrying that level of pace through that tight, twisty, technical sort of chicane section. But like I say, it's just one of those things, and I'm sure there was no malice or anger held about that one. But we will see the drivers now get ready to start the second race of the evening, and it's going to be half an hour rather than 20 minutes we just saw. So maybe that gives a little bit more advantage towards some of the drivers starting further back, the likes of Simon Povey potentially.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be quite an interesting one, this, because maybe a little bit more of a chilled approach compared to that first race for some drivers as well, knowing they've got another 50% of the race distance added on here. And of course, you need to think about tyre management a little bit more as well. Gary Toll in the Porsche will be leading the way, and once again we have 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. A Porsche, a BMW, McLaren, and then an Aston Martin and a Mercedes actually. So all 5 manufacturers in the top 5. That's just what we want to see. It's Spontex, CDM Esports and Sapphire Sim Sport on the front row of the grid. They go 2x2-ish around this final chicane. Pace car will come in late here, so Gary's got to call this one very clever. He's going to wait quite late here, and now he gets going, and round 7 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour is underway. There's a lot of shuffling and moving in the middle of the pack. Don Brennan moves aggressively across the front of James Holman. Adam Watson moves across the front of Simon Povey as well. Look at Holman down the inside, makes it nearly 3 wide there with Dominic Brennan and Jacob Money on his outside. Everybody slows down really aggressively, and look at that round the outside. Adam Watson, big move, goes off the circuit, comes back on. There's 3 wide in the background involving Niels Kaur and Simon Povey's on the inside as well. That's Arthur Thurtle in the middle of it all. Somehow they all keep it together. Great stuff. Watson really dives to the inside there of... he dives to the inside of Brennan, then hits Holman as well. That's a typically Adam Watson first couple of corners, that, wasn't it? No holds barred at all, Ed.
Yes, it is. I'm keeping my eyes on Niels Kaur at the moment. He's going side by side with Matthias Pentilla. I think Pentilla might be having to back out. He's going to be around the outside. It's going to be tricky. On board with Niels Kaur. He's going to look up the inside.
Oh, no.
Oh, as that was... Oh, my word.
Holman.
What was going on there? Holman's the entire front of his car ripped off.
Yeah, he got hit from behind by Watson. Dearie me, is that Povey into Minardi? Povey's hit Nico Minardi.
Looked like it, I think, as well. The other championship rival for the lead. You can see the lights flashing from Niels Kaur, who's still side by side with Pentilla. Bit of damage there to the left-hand side of the car. I think he's about got it under control, but now Matthias is going to be raring to go and is going to have to drive out of the final corner. Dearie me, take a breather, everyone. That was
wild.
Bonkers.
Arthur Thurtle was involved in that there. There was certainly a lot of flashing of the lights. Not happy, Niels Kaur, but James Holman is into the pit lane after that one. He and Adam Watson certainly went ham on each other there for a moment. We'll have to have a quick look at what happened with Arthur Thurtle in the middle of all this. So this is Adam's view. We'll have a look at James Holman. He's at the front here with Watson. They've got Brennan behind. Holman's on the inside. Watson moves to the right. Holman moves over. Then Watson. He's moved one way, then the other, and then Watson just dislodges the back of the car. And then Thurtle somehow got involved in something here. So Minardi goes down the inside Povey. Povey swaps sides late again. Thurtle gets into the side and runs wide on Kaur, then crosses the front of Pentilla. There's been drama and Niels Kaur's involved. Niels Kaur is off. The championship leader is off the circuit. So too is Nico Minardi. That's 2 championship protagonists that Nico's ended up getting tangled with in just a couple of laps here. This is bonkers. Yeah. Gary Toll's off.
All right, Gary Toll's off. I want to see what happened there with Niels Kaur there, because Niels has just been back from pillar to post. He got dive bombed by Arthur Thurtle, which saw him lose out a couple of places. We'll have a look here, and is it just it's a mistake? It's no malice at all. Nothing that Nico could do. As soon as he made that mistake, he was just the passenger. He's on the brakes, but just collects the rear end of Niels Kaur. And this is going to be an absolute nightmare of a second race for Niels Kaur. He's got time to try and close back up to those in front. We'll have a onboard look from Jacob Money. That was Pete Thickett just getting a bit argy-bargy, and Jacob Money says, right, thank you very much, and takes both of them.
I'm not sure that Pete Thickett was entirely in the wrong there. I think it was a bit 50-50 with him and Gary. The two of them were very close going into the chicane. Pete turned in a little bit early, then ran wide, and I think that Gary just sort of estimated that Pete wasn't able to make the second part of the chicane, and just turned into the apexes. No, Dominic Brennan's now hit Pete Thickett. Nobody wants to complete this race at all. The second race of the night is completely different to what we usually see in these championships. Simon Povey goes through an upper position. Niels Kaur is still recovering from his earlier hit from Nico. This is just wild. It's like throwing a dice, isn't it? You never know what you're going to get. It's Jacob Money leading the race. There's James Holman, who is going very slowly around the first corner. I think he was trying to get out of the way of these guys. Oh, come on, James. No, we don't like to see that at all. We're not accepting that, I'm afraid. No matter what has gone on, we are not accepting that one bit. You've really not painted a good picture of that there, James, I'm afraid. Adam Watson getting held up. Thurtle goes through into second place. Pentilla's now fourth. Simon Povey somehow fifth. Pete Thickett, I don't know how Pete didn't lose more time than that, to be honest, earlier on with that spin, because he's still somehow inside the top 10.
Yeah, that was a very manic few moments all across the field, really, but Simon Povey, he's going to be glad to, I think, be ahead of the worst of it in terms of the dramas and actions. He still has, of course, his Bendilla and then the 2 altitude cars to deal with, and then Jacob Money out in front in the lead of the race. He's got a sizable gap, 3 seconds to the good.
Nils Core there, nearly getting into the back of Toby Johns. This is the problem with now coming back from further down the order, isn't it? Nils on paper is quite a bit quicker than Toby, but Toby's holding his own here and Nils isn't able to get through. I wonder whether that car's got a bit of damage from the earlier incident as well. It isn't helping him in a straight line, but we know how fast the McLaren is down the straights. But Nils is having to back out a few times here in the braking zone. Isn't quite able to get past Toby, and there were chats earlier about how difficult it is to overtake around here, and it certainly seems that Toby is holding on very well here, actually.
Oh, as Nico gets very close to the wall on the exit there, I thought for a moment we were going to see again that McLaren struggling. Out in front, the Aston Martin's trying to chase down the BMW. Now that they've sort of sorted themselves out a bit, they are closing in on Jacob Money just a little bit, but it's all well and good catching. Passing is going to be something very different, especially around here as well. Simon Povey, I think he's in a wonderful position. He doesn't need to worry too much about making the positions, making the gains, because his main championship rival, Nils Core, is all the way down in 14th place. So this could be a 9-point swing in Simon's favour as it stands.
Nils is going to be pushing on now. He's going to realise that more and more lap after lap here. I think he might be wanting to use Toby as a bit of slipstream here to go forwards in the race, maybe, because if it'll keep them closer together, if that BMW is struggling in a straight line, the first thing he needs to do is try and use any potential slipstream to help it. But I don't think it would have suffered too much from a side-on hit like it took from Nico earlier, but you never know what is going on underneath these cars. He's got Ralph Mayer now, the next car ahead of him. Kim Such is into the pit lane, unfortunately. I think Kim's had a bit of a moment or a spin. Yes, he has. He has had a moment somewhere. Let's have a look here. Just into the final corner. Is he just going to hit the curb? Oh, yeah, it was already going, to be fair. Oh, dear. That's quite a big hit into the barrier, actually, that one. He's been in and out of the pit lane since. And we need to go...
We have to realise with Nils Core is that that wasn't just that incident that he had with Nico Minardi, because he also had a moment, I think it might have been with Arthur Thirtle, you know.
Yeah.
Driving up the inside, and then when the contact happened, it was like putting him behind like sort of Bentler and company. So he already had a fair whack before then. Maybe it's going to be difficult for Nils to get back up through the order, but if the cars do start to battle and keep it nice and close, you can still see them. He's just at the back of the shot there, going down across the start-finish line, so he's not, fully out of the picture, especially if the battling carries on like it is now. This is time left in the race. There's still a whole race one's worth of distance and then some to go.
There absolutely is. We've got the 2 Altitude Esports Aston Martins, and then you've got both the Sponsec CDM Esports and Rat McLarens in here, and then Pete Thickett involved as well. So we've got some very potent drivers now still inside the top 10, obviously shuffling all their positions around. Down the back straight they go once again. Thirtle has now been overtaken by Watson, and he's having to defend from Pentler. Wonder whether there's any damage on any of these cars from earlier. Pentler has to get on the brakes there. I think he just kissed the back of Arthur's Aston Martin. Arthur's going to do well to get that stopped, and I'm afraid he's gone straight on. Into the gravel he goes. The gravel now slows you down a lot more on iRacing. I don't think that was intentional by Pentler, but it was just following a bit too closely again into a real pinch point of the circuit, wasn't it? I think some of them have been pushing their luck a little bit with stuff like that.
Yeah, we've seen it before, and we might see it yet again before the end of the race. But Dominic Brennan, while he's down 2 places, he's still keeping up with some of the quick guys. Simon Povey's just a car ahead of him. Pete Thickett in the middle, in the thick of it, both in the first race and in this one. When there was any action in the first sort of 3 laps, it seemed to be surrounded by his car, be it him being the guilty party or innocent victim. It's just been a bit of a hectic race, but maybe we'll start to see it calm down now. Look how close they get to those tyre barriers, though. Really pushing the limits.
It's not even tyre barrier, it's just solid concrete wall as well. It's like Forest Elbow, it's terrifying. But Jacob Money, well, he benefited from all of the mayhem, and he started on the front row, actually. I think he lost a couple of places in the opening lap, and then he's managed to gain them all back again. There was good opportunism before when Pete Thickett and Gary Tall came to blows. And Jacob Money in the BMW currently leads this field by 1.7 seconds over Adam Watson, who continues to chase him down, and he's actually gaining more and more time, is Adam, at this moment. Then Pentela is in 3rd place, Simon Povey is 4th. Pete Thickett still in the thick of it, as we keep saying this season with those guys. Nils Cora has just got past Mark Johnson in the Aston Martin, so Nils now up into 11th place. Continues this great recovery drive, and just as he's about to cross the line, we have 20 minutes left of the race to go. So now it's effectively like starting race 1 with the race already underway.
There we go. Try and see if the race will calm down now. There's Andre Myrek looking up the inside. He's trying to get ahead of Mike Murphy, but then also defending from Arthur Thurtle, who's going to make that move up the inside, but there's still a little bit of an overlap. Andre then backs out, thinks better of it, knows that, of course, Arthur is going to have plenty of pace and to clear a path. Nils Cole back up into 11th, so making headway here and there. He's got ahead of Mark Johnson, Ralph Meyer, Nico Minardi. So nearing the top 10 is Nils. Still, though, not quite what he was hoping for. Definitely not what he was hoping for, to be fair, in this second race of the evening. Jacob Money, though, has now been caught by Adam Watson. Adam's going to look to try and take advantage of the pace differential, but of course, Adam Watson, not Adam Watson, sorry, Jacob Money just needs to put his car in the perfect positions just to frustrate and annoy the Aston, because as long as you stick to your lines, there isn't really a whole lot the car behind can do to make a pass.
Now that's the thing. It was said earlier that it's difficult to overtake around here. You really have to force the issue, and we know that Adam Watson is not one of those guys that's scared of doing that. One way then the other here. Tries to flick the car one way then the other. This is certainly a circuit that lends itself to trying a sort of a switchback manoeuvre, isn't it? Just trying to go wide on the way into a corner and then cut back underneath the driver in front. Jacob Money, he knows where to place this car. He knows exactly how to defend. He's just going to have to play this really wise here. We'll see what Watson does, because Adam can't sit behind him for too long here, knowing that he's got the potency of the guys behind him waiting to chase him down here. Matthias Pentela going really well in 3rd place. He's bringing Povey, Thickett and Brennan with him every single lap now.
Really is bringing a huge gaggle of cars along for the ride. All about focusing on the here and now, though, of course. You can see what could be ahead of you, but also in the process you've got Simon Povey, the fastest driver out on the circuit, I think it's fair to say, really bearing down. I say fastest driver out on the circuit is actually Dominic Brennan. That last lap was fastest, as Adam Watson, I think, diving up the inside and, yes, overtaking Jacob Money for the lead of the race.
Yep, absolutely. Nice and clean down into turn 1, and it's actually done him a favour as well in more ways than one, because it's compromised both of them, but it's put Jacob Money on the back foot now with a smaller gap to the cars behind, so it's not like Jacob can focus all of his energy on moving back ahead again, as, oh dearie me, Ralph Mears had a moment cut across the chicane, recovers though without damage. Back to this though with 17 minutes of the race left. Matthias Pentela in 3rd place, all over the back of Money right now. Arthur Thurtle not able to catch back up with this group just yet. He'll feel a little bit hard done by with the contact with Pentela earlier on though, and he'll now be seeing red and trying to furiously chase back with these guys. He's got time to do it though, because if the battling continues here, well, we've seen firsthand how easily the battling can crack on and suddenly slow down a massive group of cars.
There's certainly a growing gaggle chasing down the race leader. Well, the former race leader, as Jacob Money now has got Matthias Pentela looking up the inside and hard onto the brakes. Does the Mercedes have the measure of the BMW?
Whoa.
Running very
Fell
wide
off
off the circuit, carrying plenty of speed. That allows him to just about hang on to 2nd place.
He came very widely back onto the circuit there. Pentela was lucky not to get clouted. And to be fair, Pentela was quite lucky not to lose place to Simon Povey there, because Simon could have been right on that and very, very opportunistic. But I think that he saw a potential big drama if he got into too much of that then. That would have really, really disrupted the race for him. So you've got to think about picking your battles and think about the compromise around a track like this, don't you?
Yeah, it's just all about focusing on the circuit as much as it is the cars around you. If you do run wide, if you do get a slowdown, you drop back a huge amount of time. just keeping my eyes on the battle and the pace of Nils Core and his charge back up through the field. He was certainly gaining on this battle up ahead, Tom Weston and Andre Meyerek. But right now, he's not really close enough to think about any sort of overtake.
No,
Adam Watson still ahead of Jacob Money, who's still ahead of Bentolo. Is Bentolo looking for another move potentially? Not quite at this stage. So it's sort of starting to relax just a touch, I think, at this moment in time.
Yeah, they've got a couple of laps here to get into a rhythm now. Everybody knows where they are in the race and knows what sort of pace everybody else is on. We ride on board with Tom Weston though, car 10, P10 at the moment. He's gained 9 places from where he started. He's having a really good run of this one. Nils Core is gradually reeling these guys in, and if there is any battling to be done here, then that's going to help him even further. But Tom Weston having a really good run. Andre Meyerek has gained 4 places. Mike Murphy has gained 3. So each of these guys benefiting from the earlier shenanigans. As Tom really cut that chicane there. I'm not sure if that won't be a slowdown penalty. Matthias Penteler and Jacob Money side by side here into the final corner. Penteler's still got his nose down the inside. He's going to try and get a cut back on the exit on Jacob Money. Simon Povey's watching all of this happen in front of him. Not quite sure what went on just before that, but there was a move and a change over. Oh, this was actually earlier, so they didn't actually change positions that time round. Thickett and Brennan are side by side-ish in the background as well. Povey's going to come through on both of them here, is he? Penteler gets in front. Money's now on the outside, and Simon Povey says, thanks very much, boys. I'll take that one. Pete Thickett tries a little bit of a look at the BMW as well in the Aston Martin. 4 manufacturers all going at it once again here, Ed. Again, say what we want about balance and performance elsewhere in iRacing. This is phenomenal.
It really has been. It's a shame that the start was so chaotic because you're left wondering what might have been, but right now this is a brilliant fight. Pete Thickett now trying to find a way past Jacob Money. You can see that the slipstream is working in his favour, but it's up to a very tricky complex of corners. He's going to chance it up the inside, and I think Jacob Money is just going to have to back out of it, but he won't. They're going side by side down through the S's.
Oh, no.
No, dearie me, there's a tag, and has that been collected? Oh, I thought for a moment Jacob Money was just about to collect Simon. Thankfully he didn't, but that could have been dramatic yet again for the championship.
Yeah, I don't know what happened really there. I think maybe Pete Thickett just overdid it, trying to get back down the inside of the BMW, and that was that. And there's damage to all the cars in front. Brennan, well, lifted the back end of the Aston Martin off the ground completely. Pete Thickett is crawling now into the pit lane with big damage. That's a massive shame. You never want to see it end like that. Povey's now up to 2nd place. This is dream scenario stuff for Simon Povey. But that was a massive shame there, what happened between those guys. But they were battling very hard indeed. Arthur Thurtle benefited from it massively. I'm going to go back and have a look actually at just how close these guys were to collecting the car in front. Look at Jacob Money. Oh my goodness me. I think they all thought the inside was going to be the place to go in the end, and I think Thickett's car was struggling to turn left actually. You can see it going over to the right hand side. Almost looked like he had a swipe at Brennan, but that was definitely not the case. Wow. Another incident, and well, it seems like these sprint races, it's a little bit more chaotic than we like to usually see now. I'm scared for the championship.
Yeah, it's especially this second race of the evening, the reshuffling of the grid, even though it is only 10 places. But I think just the nature of this circuit being narrow and sometimes the drivers opting to force a move when it isn't really on, the frustration maybe sets in. And that could be why we're seeing it slightly different to how we're used to. Nils Core, though, it's helped him out because all of those cars had to slow down to avoid an incident, an accident, and now he's right back in the fight with some good points positions. Currently in behind Tom Weston. Can get a good exit out of this next left-hander. Right there in the chance, but not quite. We know Porsche's very good at putting its power down.
Yeah, I think he maybe just gave it a little dab of the brakes there as well to make sure he wasn't too close to the back of Weston and didn't just sort of drive through him on the exit. Adam Watson's lead is 3.9 seconds now, over 4 seconds from Simon Povey. Simon's having to race Matthias Penteler as well, so it's not like Simon's got a clean run of this to the front. You can see, look, Nils is sort of hanging back from these guys, hoping to then get a run somehow into a braking zone and be able to take advantage of whatever scenario presents itself, but The BMW's not a small car to slide down the inside of a gap, so he's going to have a difficult time gaining these extra places. Watson continues to lead, does his personal best lap of the race as well. He is doing 1:13.0s. Simon Povey was 0.03 of a second slower on that previous lap. Arthur Thurtle is under pressure now from Dominic Brennan in the McLaren. Dom's trying his very best to get around the Aston Martin, which is almost glowing in this very strange light that we've got here at the end of the day at Sandown. 10 minutes to go in this bonkers 7th race of this mini championship, the sort of winter off-season as such. And there's little duos breaking away here and there. Great battle behind, actually. Mike Murphy ahead of Jacob Money, then Andre Mayerek, Tom Weston and Niels Kaur. Mike Murphy has gained 5 places from where he started here, so he'll be happy with that. Just needs to hold on to it with these last 10 minutes.
Yeah, but those 10 minutes will feel like a very long time indeed, especially with all of those cars bearing down on him. Lovely shot back from the car there as we were going down through the S's. Looking at the moment though to see Niels Kaur in his progress up through the field. He's still in behind Tom Weston. You can see Niels just at the back of this shot actually, trying to find a way past the Porsche, but to no avail. Maybe he's struggling a little bit for top end speed because even in the slipstream he is actually dropping back, isn't he?
Yeah, there's definitely some damage to the car. He's got damage on the front end from his initial contact that he made earlier on in the race, and I think that's what's affected him the most, as Tom Weston now gives him a bit of a lifeline. He looks down the inside of Andre Mayerek. Niels Kaur says, thanks very much, Tom. I'll take that then if you want to compromise yourself side by side. Tom gives him great amount of room. Good respect there by Tom, but unfortunately backs out for his own sake a little bit too much. Now Niels is going to be up behind Andre, and he's into 9th place.
Yeah, so that was good by Niels Kaur. That's essentially how he's going to make positions, is just by sensing a little bit of weakness, driver trying to make a move that doesn't come off. He's going to be right there to try and take that place back. All right, Arthur Thurtle now looking back to see Dominic Brennan bearing down on him. This final sector, again, tricky to get right, very important, especially that final corner for the run all the way down in towards turn 1. A lot of curb being taken by Arthur. Runs a little bit wide of the mark through the final bend though, and is that going to maybe give a little bit of a sniff of an opportunity for Dominic Brennan, who's going to close up in the straight line?
We've seen him do it before, but he's not managed to make it work yet.
I think he's a little bit too far back just on this time. Yeah, staying where he is for now. Out ahead, Simon Povey and Adam Watson trading times. So maybe having just to settle for second place. As well, having a pretty good time of things. Up into the podium places. Thankfully, with not too much to worry about in front or behind. He's close enough to Simon Povey, but I'm not sure if there's going to be a move coming there.
I think Matthias is holding on to point-scoring positions at the moment, isn't he, in 3rd place? He'll be happy with the podium. Not quite sure if he's been on the podium so far this season. He's had a 2nd place, actually. The 2nd race of the season, in fact. So he had a pretty solid start to the campaign, but yeah, he's not scored big points since then. He's just sort of been there or thereabouts, I guess. He's had 2 point-scoring finishes that have got him 11 points apiece. So where would that be in the races? That would be a 5th place in sprint races. That's all he's had so far. So I mean, I say that's all he's had, you know, top 5s, not bad at all in a championship as competitive as this, but still I know that, and we both know that Pentila is certainly capable of a bit more than that as well.
Oh, definitely. You know that there's more to Pentila at this stage. The ceiling is certainly a lot higher than where he is at the moment, but we've seen that a lot with other RD Simsport drivers. We've seen it with James Holman when he first joined into the championship to where he is now. We've seen it as well with Callum Brandt when he first joined to where he was, and it's just the thing where the drivers need to adapt to the cars, adapt to the style of racing, and then they'll really just start to come on leaps and bounds. But this is good for Matthias. We've seen some good pace coming through for him, and this is actually going to be a good result for him as well, because he's in behind Simon And there's no better person to learn the lines and learn how to race from than Simon, is there?
No, absolutely not. And said Povey is closing down on Adam Watson, but only by about a tenth of a second a lap at the moment. So as long as Adam can keep this pace up and doesn't overdo it here, he should be on for another sprint race victory, actually. He's had already won this season at Suzuka. Adam. Chill. Adam. Good Lord. Well, you can't say he's not pushing, Ed. Jesus Christ.
He is really going for it at this stage. He's got 5 minutes to go and knows that he can't afford to relax or chill or take it slow, because within a blink of an eye, Simon will be right on top of him. So it's all about pushing hard. And a lot of these drivers don't know anything other than hot laps until the end of the race. Nils Caught can tell that he's just struggling for pace at this moment in time, trying to make the best of a bad situation. Really attacking the corners. You can see that he closes up massively. He's got the ability and the bravery and the commitment through all the corners, but the car just isn't beneath him. He's, with the damage that he's having to carry, it's going to be more about if other cars in front of him make mistakes, if he can gain positions, more than anything else, unfortunately.
Just looking a little bit ahead of these guys as well. Mayrek all over the back of Mike Murphy now. These two side by side as Mayrek gets a really good run out the final corner. The Czech driver moves to the left-hand side, takes the inside line into turn one. Mike's not going to want to give that one up too easily, but that's the thing. Look at the compromise there. All of a sudden, Jacob Money's on the back of him. You get overtaken, and then you still have to be on the defensive straight away. It's such a savage part of the racetrack, but Mayrek has done what he needed to do, makes a nice move down the inside. Mike was really respectful as well, knew what the compromise was, and they're all glued together once again. Weston now on the back of this train as well. Fantastic racing in these later stages of the race. We can't say the same about the first part, but I'll tell you what, since then it's been great to see the sort of the different order. That's the thing that these sprint races give us that's a real positive, is you know, towards the sort of middle third and the latter third of the race, you get a very mixed up order and battles of all shapes and sizes, don't you?
Yeah, it is a very sort of mixed up and topsy-turvy. I think some of the drivers may have some opinions about reverse grids, especially some of those who have been involved in the wars a little more than others today.
Yeah, for sure.
It's something that will obviously keep assessing. The championship that we have lined up with all the dates and calendars is still provisional. It's obviously, we've got the dates there, but depending on the opinions of the drivers, we might take the sprint races on board, we might not. We'll have a look and see. Obviously the dates are something we know, but still the format can be tweaked a little bit here and there before we go race. Still a couple months away yet.
Absolutely is. It'll be into early 2024 that the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge returns. We still have another race meeting from this lot in 2 weeks' time, the finale at Phillip Island. Thanks as well, by the way, to our championship sponsors, Oris Digital, Crockery Direct and Derbyshire Holiday Homes. We love you all. Heinz Mayer and Drew Fletcher, our mains championship sponsors. It's great to have you on board, guys, and lovely to have the support as well. And I must admit, when I see these cars on the circuit, Ed, I love seeing all the... Oh, hello. Thurtle's made a mistake and Brennan's gone through. I was going to say, I love seeing the yellow windscreen banners on all the cars. Really does sort of give them a sense of unison, that they're all part of the same unit, let's say. You can see it especially here with all these different manufacturers. All the cars with these gorgeous yellow windscreen banners and the branding on the number boards. But yeah, Brendan through into 4th place there. That's a big position change, that one.
Big position change there. And it's just a little mistake, really, wasn't it, from Arthur Thurtle? We've seen that a couple of times from Arthur, actually, just overshooting, especially that corner. It seems to be one that he's not quite comfortable with.
Yeah, it seems like the Aston, you have to really throw it in there and sort of take the risk, and then it's the sort of actual point where the car finally gets to coming to a stop, or maybe even just the gear changes as well, that the car just doesn't quite let you get it as stopped as you'd like it to be. It's important in the Teams Championship, that as well, because obviously with Adam Watson leading the race, Simon Povey in second, Arthur really wanted to try and stay ahead of Dominic there to gain an extra point or two in the Teams Championship over Spontex CDM Esports Unwrapped. They are now in 2nd and 4th positions. Mayerek's having a great race, by the way, up 7 places now, and he's getting away from the battle behind, which is tailed by Tom Weston, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for Tom, because he's gained 9 places from where he started, right at the back of the grid, and he's inside the top 10. Great day for Tom, really, considering that the first race really went to pot.
Yeah, it didn't go at all to plan still, the championship, the season is not done yet. Might have a bit more of a sway in one way than the other, but it can all come to pass right at the end. We've seen some dramatic final rounds. Could be getting set up for one here tonight if everything continues as it is. Simon Povey obviously taking charge of the championship, but you never know what could happen. We do not know, but what we do know is that Adam Watson, after a great early charge through the field, looking good for the second race of the evening, take his first victory here at Sandown circuit. What a tricky circuit it's been, but one that has really tested the drivers to their limits.
Yeah, we knew it absolutely would do. It's a short lap here, and it's a very difficult one. These guys have been doing personal bests in the later stages, but into the chicane one more time to cross the line and take the race victory for Altitude Esports. Adam Watson wins round 7 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour. Dramatic fashion indeed. What a night for Simon Povey. A first place in a second puts him to the top of the championship. Matthias Penteler gets third place. Dominic Brennan is going to take fourth for Sponsex CDM Esports Unwrapped. Then it's Arthur Thurtle, Andre Mayerek, and then Mike Murphy is going to finish ahead of... Niles Kaur gets Jacob Money right at the death there. So very good stuff by Niels Kaur. I think Jacob maybe got a slowdown penalty. Tom Weston takes a very hard-earned 10th position. Nico Minardi 11th. I'm surprised the car made it to the end. He took 2 big knocks early on there, Ed, but he made it to the end. But wow, a very dramatic race there, quite a controversial one, and certainly one that will be spoken about for quite a while. Adam Watson wins.
Yeah, a second race that's had big implications in the championship. Simon Povey's going to be very pleased with this evening, with a first place finish in the first race and a second place finish in the second race, and obviously with that pole position there are very few drivers that would have got more out of tonight than Simon, that's for certain. Seemingly at one with car and circuit. Very well done to see him as well just recapture some of the form that we know he has, because he has looked a little bit out of sorts. I know you alluded to it earlier, Chaz, but great to have him back in fine form.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing, in this great close-knit community we've got here at the Sim Racing Magazine events. You do see a lot of drivers that, they go in and out of form as drivers naturally do. People have good days, people have bad days. And it's been lovely to see the drivers on their good days, when they return to form as we've seen them before. And Simon is one of those drivers that, like you said before, he's been a constant since all of this started, really, since the very first season. And he was certainly on fine form tonight. So, let's have a look at the results of the feature race then. Adam Watson takes the race victory, 2.5 seconds clear of Simon Povey, who has an almost perfect night. Matthias Penteler gets a very hard-earned podium in third for RD Simsport, with Dominic Brennan and Arthur Thurtle completing the top 5. Andre Mayerek finishes in 6th place, great drive from him, up 7 spots. Mike Murphy finishes in 7th, ahead of Niels Kaur, a good recovery from him. Jacob Money finishes in 9th, with Tom Weston in 10th place. He rounds out the top 10 after gaining 9 spots in that one. Well done to Tom. Nico Minardi finishes in 11th, some more championship points for him, ahead of Mark Johnson, Ralph Mayer and Heinz Mayer, with Toby Johns getting a championship point in 15th place. Next up was Pete Thickett and Kim Such, who was 1 lap down, and then the non-finishers were James Holman and Gary Tall, our pole sitter, having that spin after contact with Pete Thickett. It was very, very lively, that second race of the night, Ed, and to be fair, unsurprisingly, we've not got any drivers that are quite in just yet for an interview. I think that a lot of them will want to lie down after that one, but, some unsavoury moments in that one, to say the least, in the early stages, which is a shame.
Yeah, and you can understand why some drivers were a bit more frustrated than usual around this circuit. It was a track that passing opportunities were always going to be few and far in between, and it needed a cool level head, but I think we saw some drivers just pushing a little bit too hard. Obviously, we want to see the drivers eager to make places and eager to race with each other, but I think the line was just crossed a couple of times too many. But of course, it's something that they will obviously learn from. It might have just been a case of a bad sort of track combination with the sort of style of racing we were going with the sprint racing. Still, some of the racing that we did see that was clean was absolutely wonderful, especially that first race. That was some excellent stuff that we saw from all drivers.
Yeah, for sure, and that's the thing, there's often a contrast between a first race and a second race. Just asked Tom Weston, who had a lively evening of it. Tom, welcome to the commentary box, my friend. You must be over the moon with that second race. You flew up the order.
Yeah, that was... I knew it was going to be damage limitation, so I just thought, well, let's just try and stay out of trouble, because I knew that race 2, drivers were going to go for it. So, yeah, it was just a case of staying out of trouble, but I had really good pace as well, and I just got quicker and quicker and quicker as the race went on, but without sounding too cocky, the traffic was holding me up in the end, but no, it was really good fun. Really, really good. Yeah, there was a lot had gone on. There was smoke everywhere, but I just sort of just knuckled down and just keep going and see where we end up.
Well, that's the thing in these, isn't it? You see often sometimes people will sort of give up after one lap if something doesn't quite go their way, but, just pushing on in a race like this, especially in a league as competitive as this, all it takes is one moment in front of you, and you never know what can happen, do you?
Yeah, that's it. There was a lot of cars bunching up, especially in race 1. I sort of outbraked myself, really, because I think a few of the cars in front bunched up. I only just got a little bit of contact, but it was enough to spin me round, and then out of somewhere I got knocked into the shadow realm by somebody. So yeah, I ended up back in the pits, but yeah, no, I wasn't going to give up, just keep going. I knew something was going to happen in race 2, so yeah, no, it was brilliant, really, really good.
I was going to say that this circuit it's a bit of a Marmite track, isn't it? It's difficult to overtake here, as you said yourself in Discord earlier, but at the same time, it's one of those tracks where you can overtake easily sometimes with slipstream, but in cars like this, they don't really lend themselves to that, do they?
Yeah, it was difficult. Coming out the corners, the Porsche lacked a little bit of get up and go. The Merc and the McLaren had the pull on me, but I just had to sort of wait for some kind of mistake, really, and just sort of go from there. But yeah, the car felt really, really good in the end. So yeah, really, really good.
Well, it was great to see you fly up the order like that, Tom. Really, really good racing as always. Is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks to before you go?
The team, DCWR, DCW Racing, and AIRaceSummaries.com. I know they're out racing tonight as well, and you guys for the broadcast.
Thank you very much, Tom. Always a pleasure as always. Well done, mate, and we will see you in 2 weeks, hopefully, for the finale.
We will do. I'll see you soon.
Cheers, Tom.
Take care.
So Tom Weston, like I said, Ed, certainly had a bit of a contrasting evening from race 1 to race 2. Out of the first race after that spin and then big contact, but then suddenly was the biggest mover in race 2, getting into the top 10 from 19th on the grid.
Yeah, it was wonderful, wasn't it, just to see his progress up through. We did say I remember saying that we've seen a lot of good things from Tom Weston. He was a driver that came into the championship and wasn't quite on the pace, but results like that just show what a good environment the Sim Racing Magazine community is for developing and nurturing that talent and getting those drivers up to speed where they can have those results.
It's like, oh,
absolutely is. And well, what we're going to do now is drag in a man that popped into the interview waiting room probably just to go and shout at the altitude boys, but what he's actually gone and done, he's got himself an interview, because we never get to speak to Simon Povey. And Simon, you must be over the moon after tonight, mate. A first place and a second place doesn't get much better than that.
no, it was really good. It was feel bad for Niels, and I spent most of the second race scared to death for the first 15 minutes, just so worried I was going to get punted. It was it was really, really scary out there.
It was certainly a lively one indeed. And I mean, it's good sportsmanship to worry about Nils, because at the end of the day, it's not how we want championship points to be settled and changed around, is it? But you've got to just do what you've got to do as a driver, I guess, haven't you? Yeah, I said to you that it was crunch time. Like, he got a 4-point lead, which sounds like nothing, but realistically, if we finished like a place apart, then I wouldn't have even closed the gap on him. So I knew that it had to be decent results tonight, otherwise it would have been all over. Well, you've got I was going to say, you've got a nice 2-week break now before Phillip Island at the end of the championship. Is that one you're looking forward to?
Yeah, that's a good track. It's similar in a way because it's quite a simple track, and I think the field spread tonight, everyone was really close, and it'll be the same at Phillip Island. But yeah, it's just going to be survival again. At least it's probably slightly easier to overtake safely there.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was very tricky.
Well, that's the thing, I guess. It's versatility amongst you lot. It's one thing we love to bring out over the course of an evening with you guys. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before you go, Simon?
Thanks to Mum for watching, friends John and Vicky, my teammate Dom for practicing so hard every round, and you guys for putting on such a good broadcast.
Thank you as
I don't know
always.
whether Ed knows that Dom didn't even know where Sandown was until last night.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd never heard of the track. So.
Yeah, I explained the screenshot earlier on in the in the stream. Bless him. But still, thank you as always, Simon. Great to speak to you, mate. And enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Cheers. See you soon.
Simon Povey. Oh, even I disconnected for a second there, Ed. I'm not quite sure what on earth caused that noise, but even I was surprised to see the elusive Simon Povey appear. Then, amazing.
Yeah, I have no idea what was going on with all that random noise, but it was great to have Simon, wasn't it, in the flesh with us to talk us through that, and obviously great to have the sportsmanship to think of his championship rival Neil Scorey was in some really rotten luck, but. On the brighter side, we do have a driver that we can have a talk to a slightly more fortunate race.
Yeah, Arthur Thurtle, welcome to the commentary box, my friend. That was certainly a lively evening in total with you and your teammates swapping around loads in race 1. There was always someone to battle in race 2. What's your overall Sandown experience been like tonight?
Do you know what? When I was in the practice, I thought this is a fun track. I like this. But the reason me and Watson ended up keep swapping places was because we both kept on nearly having crashes for the whole race. It's the honest answer. We was both like mid-car crash for the whole race. I don't know how we finished second and third. The Aston, it was like driving a bouncy castle over them curbs, and it kept grounding out on the exit curbs. And it was interesting. It was good fun though.
I was going to say that it certainly looked like it had its fun moments and then its terrifying moments in that car, because the chicanes, you could absorb the curbs for sure, but it really did bounce across them quite a lot, and then getting it slowed down off the back of a chicane, slowing down into a really almost hairpin-like corner, I can imagine was quite nightmarish, was it?
The first chicane to the sharp left, that was okay. It would go over them 2 big bumps if you took the right line. That was okay. You then just had to be a little bit careful on the braking because the rears would lock up. There's a little bump right in the braking, and you have to wait till you've got past the bump because the rears were locking up nearly every lap for me, and then start the turn. But the last corner where you've got the chicane, the right-left chicane, my Aston, I just couldn't get the first part right all night. I was going over the first part. Sometimes it would bounce violently, sometimes it wouldn't. And it then, because it was then bouncing, it then wouldn't slow down anymore for the left-hander, which then meant I missed the apex and went wide and couldn't get turned in there. It was interesting. It was good fun. It was good fun. I couldn't have been the only one struggling all night.
No, I was going to say, I think there were a few that were struggling to get the car stopped, certain people struggling to get the car pointing in a straight line on the exit of corners. It was all a bit all over the place, but Sandown really threw us the crazy sort of dice that we were expecting to see. We've got Phillip Island in 2 weeks' time, a little week off for you guys. Do you feel that's sort of needed after this one, and are you looking forward to Phillip Island?
This was actually my last race. I'm on holiday for the week of Phillip Island.
Oh man. I think we mentioned this before, didn't we? Sorry, I think we spoke about it.
Yeah, so I've known from the start really that I wasn't actually going to be in contention for the championship, but I still wanted to come out and have some fun. But yeah, so best of luck to everyone for Phillip Island. It's a good track as well. I like that. I think the Aston will be quite good with the fast flowing corners.
Yeah, it's a shame not to see you there for that one, Arthur, but you've been a great addition to the championship this season. Your pace at Fuji scared the life out of everybody to begin with, I know that much. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a quick shout out to before you go for the final time this season?
I'd like to shout out to the Attitude Team sponsors, Sim Stickers, Mr. Hedge and Freen. I'd also like to thank yourselves very much for putting on this league. I've had a real good time. I'd like to shout out all the other drivers and my teammate Adam Watson. With me and him, our first time together as teammates, just me and him. And we've done all right. I mean, I'm still going to have words with Mark because definitely since Fuji I've had second-hand tyres the whole time. I don't know why. I think it's because at Fuji I actually done quite a bit of practice for, and the others because I know I've not been able to win the league being going on holiday. I've sort of only done a tiny bit of practice just to get me breaking points, and then use the hour beforehand to try and fine tune it a bit. But I think I might come back for the next one though.
Well, it'd be great to have you, Arthur, and it's been an absolute pleasure. But yeah, definitely get on to Mark, mate. He's a right tight git. But still, always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for joining us, and enjoy your holiday as well. Have a good one.
Thank you very much. We'll hopefully see you again.
Cheers.
Bye.
And there we go, Ed. Arthur Thurtle from Altitude. It is a shame that he's not going to be back with us for the finale at Phillip Island, though, because he's certainly been one of the most exciting drivers out there on the circuit, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw a lot of him at the first round at Fuji, actually, when he took the championship by storm, leading most of the race, putting it on pole as well. He certainly looked like a driver to keep your eyes open for, but just a few incidents here and there has been his undoing. But had a really good race here tonight to sort of make up for that, I suppose. We'll see what the future holds for him in future Sim Racing Magazine events. Well, obviously, like you say, he's not going to be here for the season finale, but still could be more to come from him.
Absolutely could be. It's definitely been a lively night for it this evening. Obviously, quite the debrief needed after that one, but still, Sandown has shaken up the championship, and we have one more race meeting left to go in 2 weeks' time at Phillip Island. Thanks as always to the championship sponsors, Oris Digital, Crockery Direct, and Derbyshire Holiday Homes. Thanks to all the viewers, thanks to all the drivers, thanks to my wonderful co-commentator Ed May, and we hope to see you again in 2 weeks' time. Have a good night, everyone. Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and
But
Pouget.
before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and it's ready to go out. Ben Gregory now, I love this. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.